I never thought I would end up managing a kindergarten. It wasn't part of any grand plan, not something I dreamed about as a kid or scribbled in the margins of my school notebooks. Life has this funny way of steering you toward things you'd never imagine for yourself, and here I am now, standing at the door every morning, watching little faces light up, or sometimes crumple, as they step into room 5, where magic happens, or so I tell myself. My name is Daniel, and I'm 32 years old. I manage Little Star's kindergarten, tucked away on a quiet street lined with tall trees that whisper secrets when the wind blows just right. It all started 3 years ago when an old friend called me out of the blue. Back then, I was working as an assistant manager at a retail store, long hours, endless inventory checks, and customers who seemed determined to test my patience daily. The pay wasn't great, but it kept me afloat. When Sarah, my college roommate, asked if I'd be interested in helping her run a small kindergarten she had just opened, I laughed. Me? With kids? She insisted, though, saying she needed someone reliable, someone good with people. And maybe, deep down, I wanted to try something different. So, after much deliberation, and a lot of convincing from Sarah, I took the leap. The first day was chaos. Not organized chaos like you see in movies, but real, unfiltered pandemonium. 15 tiny humans running around, screaming, crying, throwing toys across the room while their parents looked equally frazzled. I stood there frozen, clipboard in hand, wondering what exactly I had signed up for. But somehow, we got through it. By lunchtime, most of the children were sitting quietly enough to eat their sandwiches, even if peanut butter ended up smeared on more than one forehead. That night, I went home exhausted but oddly satisfied. There's something strangely rewarding about surviving a day like that. Over time, I grew into the role. Managing a kindergarten isn't just about keeping order, it's about creating a space where these little ones feel safe, loved, and excited to learn. Every morning, I greet each child by name, bending down to their level because eye contact matters, even to 5-year-olds. Some days, they come bounding in with stories about their pet goldfish or how they helped mom bake cookies. Other days, they cling to their parents' legs, tears streaming down their cheeks because leaving home feels like the hardest thing in the world. Those are the moments that break your heart but also remind you why you're here, to help them navigate those big emotions. One particular child stands out in my memory, Tommy. He joined us last spring, a shy boy with curly brown hair and eyes that darted around the room like he was searching for an escape route. His mom confided in me during drop-off that Tommy struggled with change, he didn't do well in new environments. At first, he wouldn't speak to anyone, not even his classmates. During circle time, he sat stiffly, clutching a stuffed dinosaur close to his chest. It broke my heart to see him so withdrawn, especially since the other kids quickly warmed up to each other. I decided to give him space but made sure to include him whenever possible. One afternoon, during arts and crafts, I noticed him hovering near the table where the kids were painting. "Do you want to try?" I asked gently, holding out a brush. He shook his head vigorously, retreating a few steps. But the next day, he lingered a bit longer. On the third day, he finally picked up a brush and tentatively dipped it into the paint. By the end of the week, he was fully immersed, smearing colors onto paper with wild abandon. Seeing his face light up with pride over his creation, that moment stayed with me. Progress doesn't always happen overnight, but when it does, it's worth every challenge along the way. Of course, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Running a kindergarten comes with its fair share of headaches. There are the inevitable accidents, spilled juice boxes, misplaced shoes, and the occasional potty emergency that requires quick thinking in a spare set of clothes. Then there are the parents, whose expectations can sometimes feel overwhelming. Some hover too much, questioning every decision we make, while others seem completely disengaged, dropping off their kids without so much as a backward glance. Finding the balance between being firm yet compassionate, professional yet approachable, is a constant juggling act. But the hardest part? Saying goodbye. Each year, as summer approaches, I find myself dreading graduation day. Watching those same kids who once clung to their parents' legs now confidently walk across the stage, clutching their certificates, fills me with pride, and a lump in my throat. They grow so fast. One minute, they're learning to tie their shoes, and the next, they're heading off to elementary school, ready to take on the world. It's bittersweet, knowing that our time together is coming to an end, but it's also a reminder of why I do what I do. If I've played even a small role in shaping their early years, then I've done my job. Despite the challenges, there are moments that make it all worthwhile. Like the time little Mia brought me a drawing she'd made during free play. "This is you," she said, pointing to a stick figure with exaggerated arms and legs. "You're dancing." I laughed, touched by her interpretation of me leading the morning dance routine. Or the day Ethan, who rarely spoke above a whisper, stood up during show and tell and recited his favorite dinosaur facts with such enthusiasm that the entire class erupted in applause. These small victories remind me that growth takes many forms, and it's my privilege to witness it. As the years have passed, I've realized that managing a kindergarten isn't just about teaching ABCs and 123s. It's about fostering kindness, encouraging curiosity, and building confidence. It's about showing these kids that it's okay to make mistakes, that everyone has bad days, and that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. And yes, it's also about teaching them how to share, clean up after themselves, and use their words instead of their fists. Simple lessons, perhaps, but ones that will stay with them long after they've left room 5. Sometimes, late at night, when the building is quiet and the only sound is the hum of the fluorescent lights, I sit at my desk and reflect on the day. Did I handle that tantrum the right way? Could I have been more patient with Emma when she refused to join the group activity? Am I doing enough to prepare these kids for the future? Self-doubt creeps in occasionally, but then I remember the laughter, the hugs, the wide-eyed wonder that fills the room every single day. Those memories silence the doubts, at least for a little while. People often ask me if I ever get tired of working with kids. The truth is, yes, some days are exhausting. There are mornings when I drag myself out of bed, wishing for nothing more than a quiet cup of coffee and a chance to sit still for 5 minutes. But then I arrive at work, and everything changes. The energy is contagious, the joy palpable. Even on the toughest days, there's always a moment, a smile, a hug, a random act of kindness, that reminds me why I love what I do. Looking back, I realized that taking this job was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Sure, it's messy and unpredictable, and there's no manual for dealing with tantrums or crafting the perfect lesson plan. But it's also fulfilling in ways I never anticipated. These kids teach me as much as I teach them, if not more. They remind me to find joy in the little things, to approach life with curiosity, and to never underestimate the power of a kind word or a listening ear. So here I am, Daniel, the kindergarten manager. A title that still feels strange to say out loud, but one I've come to embrace. As I stand at the door each morning, watching those little faces appear one by one, I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be.